Bismillah.
وعن عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال
وعن عبد الله ibn Umar. Umar is غير منصرف. Why is who remembers why Umar is غير منصرف? Because it is it's a short of Amir. So it's like a change word, right? So عن عبد الله ibn Umar.
قال سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إذا مات أحدكم فلا تحبسوه وأسرعوا به إلى قبره وليقرأ عند رأسه فاتحة البقرة.
So وليقرأ عند رأس فاتحة البقرة. So that is a naib file. فهمت؟ naib file should be ready, this right?
وعند رجليه بخاتمة البقرة.
Right.
رواه البيهقي في شعب الإيمان وقال صحيح أنه موقوف عليه.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Narrating the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar, he said, I heard Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, إِذَا مَاتَ أَحَدُكُمْ, when any one of you pass away, فَلَا تَحْبِسُوهُ, do not keep him back. So unnecessary, don't delay the funeral. Don't unnecessary. Yes, one is, there is administrative issues, you have to get a death certificate, does that, or maybe somebody's close by, something you're waiting for him. But like to prolong the funeral for long hours, do not do that. Do not do that. فَلَا تَحْبِسُوا وَأَسْرِعُوا بِهِ إِلَىٰ قَبْرِهِ, and hasten to take him towards his qabr, right? Other riwayat says that if he's a good person, why are you holding him back? If he's a good person, why are you holding him back? Let him go ahead and enjoy the fruit of his labor. Let him go ahead and enjoy he's been so much. يا أيها الإنسان إنك كادح إلى ربك فملاقيه. From the time he's born, he's fasting, he's say hungry in Ramadan, he's reading Tahajjud Namaz, studying, traveling, coming all the way from Utenek in the morning, making effort for the sake of deen. Now let him go and enjoy the fruit of his labor, right? But right, asri bila qabri. Then the reason wal yuqra, it should be recited in the ra'sihi by the Fatihatu, Fatiha, right? Ra'si Fatihatul Baqarati, right? The beginning of Surah Baqarah, wa in the rijlayhi khatimatul Baqarati, and by his feet the end of Surah Baqarah. Rawahu al-Bayhaqi fi Shu'ab al-Iman. Imam Bayhaqi raised this hadith in his book Shu'ab al-Iman. وقال الصحيح, and he says أنه موقوف عليه, that this riwayat is actually موقوف on Ibn Umar. It means that Umar doesn't hear directly from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, right? That's what he's saying according to his riwayat, right? فلا تحبسوه, I told you, without any real reason, do not keep back the qabr, I mean the mate, right? If he was a good person, the angels are waiting for him. So فَلَا تَحْبِسُوهُ وَأَسْرِعُوا, do not keep him back, hasten with him. It's more or less the same meaning, doesn't have a different meaning, right? Then there's an ikhtilaf between us, the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and between the Salafis, and it relates to what is being recited here. See, you know that ibadat is of two types, right? One is ibadat maliyah and one is ibadat badaniyah. Ibadat maliyah is like you give charity, you do qurbani, you give zakat, etc., right? That is ibadat maliyah, right? Ibadat badaniyah is where you do something with your body, meaning you recite Quran, you fast, you make zikr, etc., right? Are you with me? So here is an ikhtilaf between us and the Salafis. They say you can only make isalu thawab of ibadat maliyah. Are you with me? They say you will only make isalu thawab of ibadat maliyah. You give some charity, you do qurbani, then you can convey it to the species. But we say, we the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we say even if you recite Quran, you can send that reward to the deceased. We say even if you make some zikr, you can say Subhanallah, Subhanallah. You can send that reward to the deceased. We say you can even fast, and then you send that reward to the deceased, right? So we have our proofs, and this is one of the proofs. This is one of our proofs. This is a separate discussion altogether, but this is one of our proofs to say that you can make isalu sawab with ibadate badaniya. So even if you read two rakats tajud namaz, or you read two rakats salatul ishraq, or you read two rakats salatul duha, you can make intention, Ya Allah Ta'ala, convey the reward of this to my deceased grandparents, to my deceased ustad. You can say, Ya Allah, convey this reward to my deceased, what you call it, family members, right? So this is one of the proofs, and there are many other proofs, right? So from this hadith, I told you, you will recite surah. From other hadith also, it's mentioned there. Remember that the hadith we done before, that one sahabi, was it Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he said that stay with me to the extent that a camel is slaughtered, and uh, then and the meat is distributed, etc., so that I can feel comforted by your presence, etc., right? So you recite the surah at the beginning of Surah Baqarah at the head, and you recite then you move from the right side, then you recite the end of Surah Baqarah, Lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard, at the end, right? So remember, I was telling you the Shafis, they make talqeen. They say, Ya ibadallah, O servant of Allah Ta'ala, recite La ilaha illallah, etc., etc. So we, the Hanafis, we say that there's no thubut for that to talqeen. We don't practice on it hadith. We say this is what you must do. This is the correct talqeen, right? This was a famous discussion we discussed before. Sima'e Mauta. Can the deceased hear anything besides the Masnoon, Dua, etc., right? Remember, we told you, we discussed this before, that some ulama say that no, the deceased can only hear your Masnoon, Dua, can't hear anything besides that. Like if you speak to the deceased, etc. In the kalatus mauta, but that's a separate discussion. We'll maybe we covered it, or if we haven't covered, we'll cover it again in one of the other kitabs. But the main thing is, we say this is the point to us. This is the explanation. This is the meaning of talaqeen. Just a one, two random proofs for Isal al-Thawab. As it Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, um, he mentions in his Musnad, he says that that person who goes to the graveyard, that person who goes to the graveyard and he recites Surah Fatiha, he recites the Mu'awwazatain, and he recites Surah Ikhlas, right? And he gives the reward of that to the deceased, then, right? Then definitely with the hope in Allah Ta'ala that that reward will reach the deceased, inshallah. As Ali radiallahu ta'ala says, that that person who goes to the graveyard and he recites Surah Fatiha 11 times, and he gives that reward to the deceased, Allah Ta'ala will reward him to the extent of the amount of people that is in that graveyard, right? Just what? Just switch this thing off. I want to speak to the carpenters here. Switch Right. So Allah Ta'ala will reward you to the extent of the amount of people that are in the graveyard, right? Just 1 second, 1 second. Then there's another riwayat on the authority of Hazrat Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that person who goes to the graveyard and he recites Surah Yasin, Allah Ta'ala, if there's anybody experiencing any difficulty in the graveyard, Allah Ta'ala will reduce the difficulty. And Allah Ta'ala will reward him in extent to the amount of people that is there in the graveyard. So the graveyard is not a place of play and amusement. The graveyard is a place where a person goes to take lesson, to know that this is no matter how you lived your life in this world, what type of bed you slept in, whatever, eventually a time will come when you also become here, no matter how long. Karna jo karne aakhir maut hai, right? You also going to come there. So everybody should prepare for this time. Ightanim. There's a poem say in Farsi poem goes like this. Khaira kun in fala wa ghanimat shumar umar za beshtar ke bang bar ayat fala namaz hai pir lash raka sirodan zer khak khakash chuna bakhud ke naam wa nishan numad. So this is that is that Farsi. The Urdu is, I mean, the translation is this, that consider your life a boon and a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before the announcement is made. Like previous days, maybe they should have the loudspeaker, but in today's day and age, what you have the WhatsApp with, you have the WhatsApp message that so and so and so, the mate of so and so will go out. So before that announcement is made, then prepare yourself, do as much pile on, as much good as you can. Allah Ta'ala give us a tawfiq. Okay, read the next riwayat. Yeah, keep small distance away from there so you can take the books from that side. Read the next verse, Bismillah.
فقالت وكنا كذبنا جريمة حسبة من الدهر حتى قيل لن يتصدع فلما تفرقنا كأني ومالكا وجود اجتماع لم نبت ليلة معا ثم قالت والله لو حضرتك ما كنت إلا حيث مت ولو شهدتك ما زرتك.
Okay, this is a very, very interesting hadith, and there's quite a bit of explanation in here, and there's few things we learn. See, okay, let's translate first. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. One Abi Mulaika narrating the authority of Abu Mulaika. لما توفي عبد الرحمن بن أبي بكر بالحبشي. When Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr, that means the brother of Aisha Siddiqa, our brother Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala, when he passed away, right, وهو موضع حبشيه, right, Abika bila Hubshi is a place, right, فحمل إلى مكة, his body was carried to Makkah, فدفن بها, and he was buried there. فلما قدمت عائشة, when Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha, the wife of Nabi Sallam, came, أتت قبر عبد الرحمن ibn Abi Bakr. She came to the qabr of Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr, and she said this poem here. She said, وَكُنَّا كَنَدْمَعْنَيْ جَزِيمَةَ حِقْبَةً. Listen nicely here. We were like to the two companions of Jazima, right? Hikbatan, for a long time. For Hikbah is also time. For from a long time. Hatta qila la yatasadda'a. Until it was said, we will never separate. In other words, we were two people are so close. Me, my brother Abdul Rahman, we were so close that it was said that we will never separate. We will always be together, right? You understood that? وَكُنَّا كَنَدْمَعْنَيْ جَزِيمَةً. We were like the two companions of Jazima, Hikbatan, for a long time in the Dahri. Hatta Aqid was said, La yatasadda, we will never separate. But then, فَلَمَّا تَفَرَّقْنَا, but then when we separated, كَأَنِّي وَمَالِكًا, so as though me and Malik, لطول اجتماع because of our long time together لم نبت ليلة as though we'd not spend one night together even. So then when we separated as though we were totally separate people, we wouldn't say these people together even, right? Then she said, ثم قال والله, she said, لو حضرتك, if I was with you when you passed away, ما دفنت, you would not be buried إلا حيث مت, except where you passed away, right? ولو شهدتك, and if I had spent time with you before you passed away, ولو شهدتك ما زرتك, I wouldn't come all the way here to come and visit you by the Qabristan, right? رواه البخاري, Imam Bukhari narrates this. So first thing is, you have to understand what is being said there. This is a poem which showed that two people were so close together. See? I got Rawal Bukhari. What you got? You got in your book, what is there? Tirmidhi. Okay. She with a dhamma on the ha and a sakin on the ba and a kasra on the sheen, right? It comes on the same kind of nu'liyun, nu'liyun. So this was like a mountainous area on the outskirts of Makkah. A Habish from the Quraysh used to live here. Some ulama say it's about 6 miles out of Makkah. So the brother of Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala, he passed away here, right? And the people from there, they picked up his body and they went into Jannatul Mu'alla. Jannatul Mu'alla is so they picked up his body and they took him to Jannatul Mu'alla, and this is the Qabristan in Makkah, the official Qabristan. You saw when you come from the opposite side from the highway. Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Patel Rahmatullah from South Africa is also buried there. Hazrat Khadija radiallahu ta'ala is also buried there. Right? So he was buried in Jannatul Mu'alla. We say Jannatul Ma'ala, but it's Mu'alla. It's Mim, Ain, Lam, Alif, wa Tata. So after he was buried, the Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala went there, right? And she went to visit. And then this poem she sang here was an ajib way in which she expressed her love for him, like that we were so close, etc. Okay, this is quite a bit of explanation here down to give you. Actually, it's quite interesting history with regards to the history of this poem. But I think we'll stop there and we'll continue Monday, inshallah. About who sang this poem and all that type of thing. We'll look at that and we'll do it on Monday. What period do you have now? Muslim, okay, you go carry out your Muslim Shareef, inshallah.